welcome to the Cosplay Stitch and Seam, guys.
Woo!
Yeah, I am Mercedes, aka VFire, and this week...
I'm David. Yes, I'm still David. I'm not Pannon.
You are David,
Yay.
not Pannon, yes. Yeah, so Pannon is unable to record this week because she's getting ready to come on a trip and come visit everybody here in Utah. Woohoo!
Exciting times.
It's very exciting. So David and I decided to hijack the podcast and have our own happy episode.
Hooray!
Housekeeping. What Pannon always keeps me in line with. Okay, so, if you want to send in your cosplay horror stories or topic suggestions, you could email us at CosplayStitchAndSeam@gmail.com.
Or go to the website, CosplayStitchAndSeam.com.
Yeah, David's got this down.
It's like I do this.
Yeah. You can also join our Facebook group, and that one's getting pretty decently big now. I think we're almost to the 400 mark now, and I'm excited.
It's really blowing up. It's fantastic.
You guys are all amazing, and I love seeing all the posts and the sharing of the progress pictures and asking for advice. You guys is a beautiful group, and I love you all. Ko-Fi is at Cosplay Stitch if you want to donate to the podcast and help us, with our bandwidth every month and all that stuff. Shout out to Joy D for donating once again. Thank you so much. You're amazing. #1 donator now, I think. So
awesome.
Thank you, Joy.
Thank you.
Yeah. We got the Uncon giveaway. This week's theme was to share your dream cosplay on the Facebook page. And we'll be announcing those winners at the end of the episode. And upcoming conventions. I know Pannon she's doing World Cosplay Summit, which is being hosted at Anime Expo. And then we got the podcast summit that David and I are doing.
Woo woo!
That's next
coming
week.
Up. That's next weekend, June 8th.
Gosh, I'm nervous.
And then after that, which one are you going to?
Yes, Ogden Uncon on Sunday after that. So I'll be going Sunday only. And then just recently, actually, this is brand new, I'm going to Wizarding Days in July, so...
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
I'm very excited for it. I get to go and judge the cosplay contest.
Ooh, fancy you.
Super excited. Very fancy, very fancy. But yeah, so... those are the most immediate ones, and then of course, Anime Bonsai later in the year. We'll be at that as well. Are you doing any fun things?
I am not doing any fun things, but I did want to hijack it for just a second. If you are in kind of a place where you're like, hey, I want to support the show, but I don't have the finances, or I'm not in a place to do it, or I don't like Facebook, that's cool. If you could spend like 5 minutes going to iTunes or Stitcher and leaving a review for the show, that helps us out with other people finding us, and we just want more people to enjoy the content that we're giving to you guys. So by doing that review, it puts us up in the algorithms, makes it easier for us to find us, and that's gonna help us, and doesn't cost you anything other than just a few minutes of your time. It's super appreciative.
Just go in there and say hi.
Yeah,
it's awesome. Yes, and actually the reviews that we've gotten so far have been very flattering. And
constructive. We've gotten some good stuff out of it that we had to sit down and talk about it a little bit. Yes. We're like, oh, okay, if that's something that we're doing, we need to focus on these things.
Very much so. So yeah, if you have any feedback, we definitely love taking constructive feedback. It was very, very helpful. All right. Sweet. I think that hit all the things that I wanted to hit for housekeeping.
Beautiful.
So... on to today's topic. This is going to be a fun one. We actually had this one sent in. We actually had, a huge list sent in of a bunch of different topics from our friend Narwhals in Jars. I love that name.
It's so good. I love that name.
I want a narwhal in a jar now. But this topic is romantic relationships in cosplay. And so the full suggestion from Narwhals is... such as what it might be like to try and find someone in the cosplay community to be in a relationship with, or even the possibility of such relationships being unstable. Like, for example, they're like, I've known people who've only referred to their partners by the names of the characters that they were cosplaying as when they met. It's always interested me if this is a healthy practice, or maybe if those people are associating the people more with the characters than those who the people actually are. I really messed up that sentence, but I think the gist has come across of relationships in cosplay and how those can work, right down to, what you call each other to, I think, the more general sense. So I think this would make a really fun episode. When I, first read through it and pitched it, pitched all of them to David. I was like, David, pick this from this list.
Oh no, I don't like making decisions.
Yeah, so like we're like narrowed down on this one. We're like, let's give this a shot. So
we'll get to the other topics later. Panem will probably have better topics later on when it comes to things like, I don't know, anything cosplay related. So you'll have to do with your substitute for now.
Yeah, but this would be fun. This would be much fun.
So let's kind of just jump into the idea of like, so you're married.
Yes.
Do you and your husband cosplay?
I cosplay, my husband does not.
Okay.
So, but we both have an overlapping interest in building stuff.
Okay.
He just builds more science stuff, and I build more fantasy stuff.
So there's more of an engineering passion that you're sharing together.
Yes.
So I'm married, and my wife and I, our passion lies in Borderlands.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh. So it was my birthday, like, almost 10 years ago now. Ugh.
Your birthday is only like 10 years old. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't make fun of me. I'm not that old. It's the best fake idea I've ever had. No, it was like my birthday, and I was like, "Hey, let's play Borderlands. I know you don't like first-person games; like they make you sick. But can you try this game for me?" And ever since then, that has been a staple in our relationship, to the point where the Game of the Year edition just came out for PS4, and we've been playing it. And Kaylin and I have been talking about getting Borderland-themed tattoos.
Oh, that's so cool.
We're one of those couples, unfortunately, right?
Oh, that's great.
And Kaylin has thought about getting something related to my character. I've always played Brick, and Kaylin's always played Lilith, the Siren. And so she's thinking about getting an actual brick tattooed on themselves.
I love it.
So, like, that's our passion, right? And I love this question because, like, where are you going to meet people who have those same passions as you in cosplay, other than at cons or conventions or contests, right? So, like, this idea of, like, I'm going to go out there and just meet people is fantastic. And, of course, you're going to meet naturally like-minded people like you who share your passions.
Yeah. Yeah, and, like, I don't know, dating in the cosplay scene can be like super intimidating because it's like when you meet somebody, it's like, are you meeting them or are you meeting their character, or like all those different kind of things can definitely come into play in your mind. And especially if you're like a little anxiety bundle like I am, sometimes you're like, what is actually the person? Yeah, like I dated quite a bit, like not quite a bit, I dated a few cosplayers. I did not like go out and like date a ton of people because I am, as I discovered later, I am demi.
Okay.
And so that explains why like romantic relationships were hard for me to actually get into.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
I don't do it now because I'm married, but I did enjoy dating people who liked similar passions to me, and it was like really fun to be like, oh, you like this thing or you like that thing, and making friends that way.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that a lot.
And I think that the friends part is the most important aspect, because because any one person who's going to go, hey, I want to find someone to have a relationship, to fall in love, and do what I call the relationship escalator. You know, you meet your friends, you date, you move in together, or you get married, then move in together, and then have kids, and then continue on.
Yeah,
right?
It's like whatever your comfort level for those steps are.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and like if you're going to try and like if that is your goal, you're gonna end up having a bad time, because you're not going to be looking at that person as like, this person's awesome and I really love talking to them. It's going to be like, I can't see myself marrying you in like 2 years. That's my goal. So aiming to have a relationship is not necessarily going to be a good plan, but going in and having the idea of like, hey, I just want to meet people, and whatever happens from there happens. Yeah,
there's one thing that I found on a website. I looked up dating advice. Was like a quote that stood out to me was like, be ready to get to know a person without being attached to the outcome.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cool one, because that's one thing that I liked, was meeting people and not expecting the outcome to be like, we're going to be best friends forever. Like, it didn't always have to be that. It just had to be, I'm enjoying the moment. I'm enjoying getting to know this person. And if I run into them again later, awesome. Some friendships that I've like gained over the years have surprised me, where like I'm suddenly sitting here and I'm like, wow, how long have we been friends? How long have I known this person?
Yeah.
Where did this come from? Like, it went from a casual relationship to, like, this full blossoming friendship that I'm just like, wow, this is really cool that this happened. When did that change? I don't know.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I like that idea of just, like, you're just along for the ride emotionally. Like, whatever happens, happens. You can sit down and be like, wow, like, I'm having such a great time. I really want to spend a lot more time with this person. And then go, oh, I want to be a little bit more serious with this person. This is kind of intimidating.
Right.
But, like, a cosplay-based relationship is still like any other relationship, romantically or otherwise. It derives off of communication and trust in each other.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a lot of friends who are, like, either dating and they're both cosplayers and or are married and are both cosplayers, and it's like they're very happy people. And so it's like it is something that can work. You know, just because I personally don't have a relationship that's both of us being cosplayers doesn't mean that, oh, you shouldn't do it. No, it means that it can work for different people. I just found something that worked for me, and they found things that work for them. And I found that the biggest thing in all those relationships is communication. Yeah. Is talking to each other about what boundaries are. Kimi. I messaged my friends and was like, guys, advice, please. Kimi said that, you know, make sure that if you cosplay together, you're on the same page about cosplay with one another. You don't need to be 100% in agreement, but cosplay is expensive and time-consuming. Make sure that your partner knows how much time you want to spend on cosplay and vice versa from the get-go. That one I find is very important because, like, for me, my relationship with Chris is I cosplay, he doesn't. Mm-hmm. We both like to build things, and we both understand that we both make big messes when we build things. And so we had to come into this relationship understanding that both of us would need room for our hobbies. Yeah. And so, like, when we got a 2-bedroom apartment, after some discussion and whatnot, we agreed that the master bedroom was going to be the project room instead of a bedroom. And, like, because we like to make things. Our lives are very focused around building and stuff.
Again, it's where your passions lie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I love the idea of, like, if you find that special someone who is cosplay goal-oriented as yourself, congratulations, you just now have a new best friend to go and do these things with.
Right?
It's those relationships that you see on the internet where, like, they're constantly at the gym together. Mm-hmm. And I love that, and I also hate it because, one, it's intimidating. It's all get out to me. It's like, oh my gosh, you guys go to the gym all the time.
Gym couples.
But if you're a gym couple, or if you're a cosplay couple, or, like, you know, you're an engineer couple, like VFire, or a video game couple, like Kaylin and myself, yeah. It really doesn't matter. And I love the idea of the cosplay part because of the fact that, like, you sit there and, like, all right, we've got this costume, we're going to do it together, and it's going to be great. And, like, you're both so goal-oriented towards it.
Jazzy and Dustin. Mm-hmm. Of cosplay name that I always struggle to pronounce, Crepuscular Cosplay. They're amazing. Mm-hmm. They're intimidating when you, like, see them, like, come in to enter a contest because they play off each other's strengths and weaknesses for building their costumes, as well as, like, they're just the sweetest people as well. That's great. And, like, I don't know, I love their work. I love their style, and they've been together for a long time. Yeah. I wish I could remember off the top of my head how long they've been together, but they're like high school sweetheart types. Aww. Yeah.
Aww. That's great.
Yeah.
Not always guaranteed to work out, but when it does, my wife and I were high school sweethearts.
Aww.
I know. But when it does, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Funny story, Chris. Uh-huh. I should save this for my horror story, actually.
Okay. All right.
I'm writing that down. All right. I'm saving this for my horror story.
So let's jump into a little bit of, you know, actual advice.
Yes.
How do you know if someone is interested or disinterested? How do you kind of plan on, or not plan on, but how do you read the signals of, like, should I try and encourage more of a relationship between the two of us, or are there walls up? How do I read this situation?
I am the worst person to ask that. I have found out over the years how many signs I have missed of people who've been interested in me.
Yeah.
Because my approach to dating growing up was to get to know people and not necessarily for a romantic relationship. Like, if I dated somebody long enough, then maybe, I would start considering that, and or in my awkward, awful younger self, I would just disappear. Because I'd be like, no, I don't want to do that, but I was bad at communicating. Yeah.
So
what would be your advice on that, David?
My advice is going back to that communication. I listened to a podcast called Multi-Amory. They talk about, like, how to bring your relationships to a new level, essentially. And they have an episode called The Triforce of Communication.
That sounds amazing.
It's great.
I'm down for this.
And they talk about the 3 different ways that you can communicate with somebody. Let's say that, you come home and you just need to vent. That's one form of communicating. Or maybe you need feedback, or maybe you need reasoning. I'd highly recommend checking out that episode, because anything that you do should always be involving around communication.
Yes.
So if you are interested in somebody, tell them, hey, I'm really interested in where this goes. I know it's nerve-wracking, but what's the worst that they're going to do? Say no? Okay.
Then it's all right. You pursue something else.
Yes, and you need to be okay with that no sometimes. Like, you may... I do this. When I start thinking about a new project, I think about how it's going to make me millions of dollars. But then I have to, like, tone it down a bit. And I think a lot of people can do that in relationships too. Of like,
yes.
we're gonna get married and we're gonna have kids and it's gonna be great. But being able to take that no and being able to go, okay, I'm in a little bit of a sore place, but I can take care of myself. I can step back. So being open and honest, letting them know your feelings, is going to be the best way to tell. Because if they can communicate equally to you, you'll be able to know if they're interested or disinterested. I'm never going to say, well, if she touches your arms, or if he laughs really hard, or if they cross their legs in a specific way and their body language says,
That's one thing that I always hated about dating, was the hints.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, I don't want hints. I want to just tell me, it's just like, I'm a blunt person.
Yeah.
It's like, just tell me yay or nay, and I will understand that better. Otherwise, like, if I'm going to be kept guessing, I'm most likely going to guess wrong.
Yeah. So, like, that level of respect that you need to maintain is just an open dialogue. I asked my wife for a little bit of advice, and one of the things that Kaylin said was the basic tenets of communication: respect, integrity, and vulnerability. You gotta be vulnerable. You gotta be okay to say, like, hey, that hurt. I'm gonna walk away for a little bit, or this is fantastic news. How can we move forward? As long as you are communicating to each other, talking about your needs, your wants, and your desires openly and honestly, you are in a place where you can succeed in any relationship, romantic or otherwise.
Yeah. And the one about, like, needing to be able to walk away for a minute, that is, whether you're in a relationship or doing the dating thing, like, knowing when you need to take a breather is totally fine. Like, I don't know, I'm jumping into, like, how to handle fights now, I guess. Not necessarily fights, but, like, conflict, things that make you feel very uncomfortable, and you realize that either you or both of you or one of you is starting to get into a point where you're just, it's unproductive. And it's hard to recognize that. It can be hard to recognize that, but it's okay to be like, okay, I need a minute.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can have a code word for that. This is not like the special sex code words. This is the code word for, I need a minute. And, like, that's a healthy thing to do. And it's good to step back, even if you need to take, a breather for a night or for 10 minutes.
Go for a walk.
Yeah, go for a walk. That is so super helpful, and come back to it, and then start talking again.
So one of the things that you have here is just talk about common interests, right?
Yes.
Like, that's one of the ways that you're going to know if someone is going to kind of fit with your wants and needs of what you think is good for a relationship. Obviously, if you met at a convention and you were both in cosplay, that
maybe a commmen interest there,
No, it's safe to assume. Like, it's not always safe to assume. I had some friends where they went as Aerith and Sephiroth, and she loved it. She she had such a blast.
Aw.
And he hated it.
Aw.
Because it's like, I don't want to stop and have people take my picture all the time. And I don't, like, I'm constantly bugging with this wig and I can't sit down because I have this giant. So, like, maybe they're not interested.
Yeah.
You know, but now they know something about it and something they can talk to you about. One of the things so the D&D podcast that I do, that I talk about all the time.
It's so great.
It started with a bunch of coworkers and my wife. And we would sit around the table before we hit record and talk about work. That's great for my coworkers, not great for my wife.
Oh, yeah.
Because Z hasn't worked with me before at this job.
She's like, okay.
Can we move on? I don't know who these people are. I don't know the politics and I don't know the drama. So, like, even if they don't enjoy it, they can at least empathize. They can, you know, see where you're coming from in those mindsets. But it doesn't necessarily have to be only cosplay related. Maybe it is about the character. Oh my gosh, you cosplayed Master Chief from Halo. So excited about that. Spider-Gwen. Anything. There's more to cosplay than just the suit that you're wearing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, I also like the common interest thing because it may be, you know, maybe you'll meet somebody out of cosplay and find out that you know, there's something else that overlaps, like a video game
Mm-hmm.
or, you know, other common interests that you have. And in cosplay, like, talk about common interests outside of cosplay. Like, some people, their whole lives are in it, and that's amazing, but not everybody is.
Mm-hmm.
And so finding out what you can do outside of the cosplay stuff it's a great thing, because then you can add variety to your relationship.
One thing that I want to stress is that now I'm polyamorous. I practice a non-monogamous relationship with my wife, and I currently have 2 other partners. And one of the things that a lot of people think is I'm looking for the one that completes me. And I hate that line. Yeah. Where a lot of people, like, in monogamous relationships, and I'm not trying to dunk on monogamous relationships, because when they're great, they're great.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of unhealthy monogamy thinking is I'm going to find the person that fills all these things for me and is the one. And I think that's ridiculous in my mind, because every person is the one in some specific facet, right? Yeah. Man, this person's cosplay levels are so fantastic and they motivate me and it's fantastic, but they really don't like video games, and I am so in love with video games. So maybe this other person likes video games, but they don't like cosplay. I'm taking this polyamorous kind of thought process and saying, hey, just because they don't like everything that you want to like doesn't necessarily mean that they're any less of a potential partner. Yeah.
Polyamory is a very foreign thing to me.
It is.
And I think it's really cool.
Uh-huh.
Like, funny side story.
Okay.
One time when I went to go and record a podcast with a friend of mine before I started podcasting,
uh-huh.
I actually walked in on it was a polyamory information night kind of thing, like meetup with a bunch of people.
Cool.
I walked in and I was like, what have I walked into?
This is too much!
Yeah. It was really cool. Like, a lot of stuff I overheard, I was like, oh wow, this is actually kind of fascinating. Yeah. Like, it's a different thing, and it's beautiful in a way. Like, I want to put that out there. I think it's beautiful.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when it comes to any relationship, be prepared that you're not 50% and you're not looking for the other 50%. You're your own being, they're their own being, and what does mesh will be fantastic. What doesn't mesh could be learning opportunities.
Yeah.
Or Kaylin does pole dancing as like her exercise, right?
That's really cool.
As there's exercise, and I can't do it. That's not for me. But Kaylin also doesn't like movies near as much as I do. So I have another partner, Lauren, who we watch movies together all the time. And that's one of the great aspects of just having multiple relationships, again, not necessarily romantically, where it's like, hey, I have these buddies of mine that we play D&D together, and Kaylin may not be interested in this. Lauren may not be interested in that. So it's about finding people and not just one person. And again, no stress on the romantics.
Yeah. And I think that's a very important thing, is like, it's really weird, because weird advice to be like, get out there, make friendships, try and
make a tribe.
Yeah, make a tribe kind of thing. Like, get out there, get to know people, And that is what will lead to a romantic relationship rather than just going straight for the romantic relationship. Like, it seems like weird advice for that, but it really does work. Like, Chris and I were friends before we were boyfriend-girlfriend,
Mhm.
you know, is like it took time, and that was fine. Like, that's how we worked. And everybody's different. Is, you know, find out what your love is. You know, what you want, what others want, you know, try and figure out what that is. It could be, I can't words. It could be one person, or it could be many.
Yes. Monogamy versus non-monogamy?
Yes.
Okay. One of the things that Narwhals in Jars wrote was, like, I've known people who've only referred to their partners by the names of the characters that they were cosplaying as when they met. And I think that's cute. And that may not I don't see a downside, but I can see the downside of, like, this person's dressed as Naruto. I love Naruto.
Yeah.
Ergo, I love them.
Yeah.
The nicknames are a perfectly fine thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, you have nicknames, pet names, those kind of things. Like, those can be part of the relationship. But it's definitely something, you know, concerning if, like, that person only sees you as Naruto.
Yeah.
It's just like, but I am not Naruto. I am me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, recognizing that people are more than the characters that they cosplay.
Mhm.
Now, like, roleplay, that's a different thing.
Yeah, there's definitely, like,
Yeah.
without getting too mature.
Yes.
There is definitely that aspect of having a cosplay relationship. And if that's your thing, cool.
There you go.
Not gonna shame you for feeling that way.
But that's, again, where communication comes into play.
And your boundaries as well.
Yes.
Now, a thing that I want to point out about boundaries is they're something that you are not willing to necessarily tolerate. It is not a boundary on another person.
Yes.
You know, I don't want... I'm trying to think of a good example. I don't like Phantom of the Opera. I hate it. Can't stand it. Kaylin loves it, right? So a boundary for me is I am not going to watch Phantom of the Opera. Now, unhealthy, unacceptable boundary is no one can watch Phantom of the Opera while I'm in the house.
Yeah, that's
A healthy one is I'm going to leave the room because I don't like it. Right? There's a difference between the boundary that you put on someone else versus the boundary that you maintain on yourself.
Yes. Yeah, I completely agree with that one. Like, again, my husband does not like, he likes cosplay, but he would not cosplay.
Mhm.
But he's not going to stop me from doing it because he doesn't want to.
Yeah.
So,
one of the things I did want to mention was, like, let's say that you're in this cosplay relationship. You're fantastic together, except for when it gets down to crunch time, and maybe the partner is a little bit more intense. Like, how would you go about handling that?
I have seen this with some of my friends,
Okay.
where they get very stressed over it. And I think the biggest, everything comes back to communication, is talking to each other about that, and in, like, seeing the patterns and recognizing them. Like, being like, okay, every time this happens and we hit crunch time, you get super intense, and it's stressful. Like, communicate how you feel about that to your partner.
Not in the moment. It might not be good to sit down and, like, all right, listen, you little jerk.
Yeah.
It's before you sit down and, like, as you're planning this out, if you have a goal, all right, hey, let's have this conversation now. I want to prep for this.
On a friendship level, Sadie is my best friend. And she has actually, after the convention is over, she'll sit down with me and be like, Mercedes, okay.
I love you, but...
You cried the whole time you were building this piece. Let's maybe address that.
Yeah.
And maybe not do that again. And it's helpful. And it is definitely, again, when it's not in a high tension atmosphere, bring that up, talk about it, and see if there are ways to avoid it in the future.
And maybe you need to know what your boundaries are. Like, hey, I don't want to be in a relationship where this is too stressful.
Yeah.
And you can tell them that. I don't want to be in a relationship where this is stressful. This is not you putting your boundary on them. This is you informing them of your boundary.
Yes.
And you say, I want to be in this relationship. We need to work on a balance. Or I need to get out of this relationship. I'm sorry that it's not working out.
Mhm.
I wish you the best of luck. Right?
And that is an okay thing to do. It's a hard thing to do, but it is
Yes.
an okay thing to do. You
Totally.
can leave a relationship.
As sucky as it might be.
Yeah.
But you got to take care of you. And if you are feeling like your boundaries are being crossed, you are not happy in that relationship, or you feel like you are stuck and you just, I don't remember who said it, but there's like this, like when you look at your calendar and you've got like date night planned, there's two strains of thought that you're going to go down. Either like, oh, heck yeah, it's date night, or, and like,
That might be a sign.
yeah, that's definitely going to be a sign of like either you need to change your attitude, you need to figure out what's going on in the relationship, or maybe it's time for you to take an introspective look and see how happy you really are in that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side of that, like like I mentioned earlier, when I get my delusions of grandeur of like, I'm going to start this podcast and then it's going to hit big and I'm going to meet these people and it's really bad, right?
No worries. I sit there and I think of like, man, what if we ever met like so-and-so from certain podcasts?
Oh, yeah.
About D&D
Oh,
and,
yeah.
you know, all the time. I totally get where you're coming from.
But the beautiful aspect of it is like Kaylin and my other partners, they know me so well that they know, okay, David, calm it down, bring it back a little bit. There's a Eddie Izzard quote, "You're British, so tone it down a bit." And like having those people who know you, who know that you're going to stay up late working on this cosplay, you're not going to eat, you're not going to hydrate, you're not going to stretch. Having these people who might be better at those things than you are can be a fantastic balance.
Mhm.
Again, letting them know like, hey, I am not great at eating when I'm doing cosplay, so could you make sure that I'm eating?
Yeah, it's like, can you please help me with this?
Yes.
Hence, thank you, Sadie, for being the saint that you are and making sure that I eat and drink water while I work on cosplay.
Again, it's that vulnerability and communication, and that's going to go for any relationship, really. It's like, I feel like cosplay relationships are just like any other relationship. It's just fantastic that you met, and you might already have this one thing in common already.
Yeah.
Unlike a club of like, oh, you're drinking a draft beer? I love draft beers. I hate it. It's the only thing they had on tap. Like, oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, you like this song? I hate house music. No.
Yeah.
Hey, I see that you're dressed up as Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn. Are you a fan of the game? Look at that, I am too!
I mean, you would hope they were if they were dressed as that, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah. On the, like, boundaries thing,
Mhm.
one thing that I really like, I've never understood the don't talk to other people kind of relationships.
You mean like, we're in a relationship and you're never gonna, you don't need to talk to any other man ever again,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Okay,
those
just
kinda-
clarifying.
Yeah, I don't understand those at all, other than like, I can't understand it if you came from like a very abusive relationship or something traumatic. I can understand where like that can come from,
Mhm.
but as just a normal, not ever having run into any of that before, like I go to conventions all the time.
Okay.
Well, not all the time, but I go to a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't go with my husband. I have flown across the United States without my husband.
Mhm.
And I know people in relationships who like look at that and they're like, oh, you did what? And it's like, yeah, I do that all the time and I get flirted with. And, it's, I miss the hint a lot of the times, but when I do notice, I'm like, thanks. I am married. But thank you. And I'm polite about it.
Mhm.
Like, I'm not going to just be like, psh. But also I'm super demi.
There has to be a give and take of trust and respect.
Yeah.
I'm going to trust that you're going to communicate.
Yeah.
Like,
And
these
it's
things
like,
happened.
my husband also goes on big trips for the place that he works for.
Mhm.
And he is very flirty. And I'm okay with this. We've
Yeah.
communicated this with each other that, like, this is okay. You can go out, you can flirt. It's okay to... We're fine leaving each other's presence and trusting each other to talk
Mhm.
to the opposite sex, or even the same sex, about, things. And we trust each other, you know, and if something more were to come out of that, we would talk to each other first.
So,
like,
was that a difficult thing to overcome when you were like starting to like doing more travel or whatnot, or was this something that was like just part of your relationship where it was concrete and you're like, I'm gonna go? Is that okay?
I think like after we first got married and I went to go to my first like out of state convention, and I turned and I'm like, this is weird. Are we okay with this?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I think we are. And I'm like, cool.
So what you're saying is you had communication and a dialogue about it? Weird.
Weird, right?
Weird how that helps.
Yeah. And it's like, it's just been so chill. We both travel a lot without each other, and we're totally fine with it.
Now, one thing, and that we can like move this into the next subject, is like, he might be fine with that now, but consent can be withdrawn at any point in time. He can start saying like, I'm not really crazy about it. Can I start coming with you? And that's not necessarily just about travel, but consent in general.
Yeah.
Like, hey, yeah, flirt away. Or like, I'm not feeling too great about it right now. Consent is very fluid.
Mm-hmm.
It can change in the middle of any moment of like you're flirting, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I'm not comfortable with this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have this conversation. Or can we have this conversation a little bit later, but understand that I'm not comfortable?
Yeah. And we communicate this on this particular one, actually, about flirting with other people and just like talk, you know, the whole talking and all that stuff, and certain other aspects. We communicate with each other constantly about it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times it's like, oh man, this got way more flirty than I expected it to. Can I talk to you about it?
Yeah.
Are we still both comfortable?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a constant communication thing. It's not a one time and done thing.
Yeah.
And I actually really appreciate that, and have found that I'm more lenient than I thought I would ever be. So.
Now, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
You're not at cosplay, but you see someone who is in cosplay. Does that mean you have the right to go up and, like, start making the moves?
No.
What?
Should be, if you see a person, regardless of what they are wearing, a human being, you should not walk up to them and start putting the moves on them.
Because cosplay is not consent.
Yes.
Go back to our previous episodes about cosplay is not consent.
We've got a big old thing on that. That still applies if you are trying to seek a relationship.
So, cosplay is not consent? Consent can be withdrawn at any point in time.
Yes.
Communication, dialogue, respect, vulnerability, and a genuine heart, I feel like, is the main way that you maintain a relationship.
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good list.
It is a good list. It's a fun topic to talk about. And I feel like when it comes to any relationship, a relationship is a relationship regardless of what you're involved in. Are you a gym couple? Are you video games? Are you cosplay? Mm-hmm. Are you sports? Are you hiking? You have to follow the tenets of consent, a dialogue, communication, respect, and vulnerability. Yeah,
it's like communication.
Totally.
It's like this all comes back to that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, Jazzy said, trust your partner and be open to suggestions as well. I think that goes all along those lines of every single one of those, depending, every single one of those could follow that kind of advice.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
And if you find that you are not trusting your partner and the communication is failing, it is okay to walk out if you need to. Like, never feel that you're stuck.
And always, like, I'm going to do a motion that you can't see, but there's like kind of this push and pull, right? Mm-hmm. In a constant relationship, you should be pushing towards each other and constantly trying to help. I kind of picture it as two cups filled with water. Sometimes your cup is going to be really full, and your partner's cup might not necessarily be as full. And so you can fill that cup with some of your water. It might be a little draining, but supporting them is supporting the relationship.
Yes.
But you should never overpour your own water, right? You should always be able to take care of yourself and recognize, I've got nothing to give you right now. I need to fill up myself, and be able to take a step away for a little bit. Even in romantic relationships, you can be able to say, you know what? I've had a really bad week. I'm going to go do something that's recharging for me. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be, I don't know, going to Vegas with some friends.
Yeah.
Or something completely unrelated that the both of you don't share. And so in the end, make sure that the relationship is about each other, but you're also maintaining yourself.
Yes. And that's, I think that was super, super important of like, you have your common interests, but you also have your individual interests as well. And that it's okay for the both of you to have those, because no relationship's going to be perfect, hunky-dory, I have to be with you all the time. There's going to be moments where you guys need space, and that is okay. It's healthy, even.
Yeah. Absence does make the heart grow fonder.
It does, yes.
And as much as that's kind of a pain in the butt statement to make, it really is, because that gives you the opportunity to miss that person and recognize, oh, I miss these things about them. Have you watched The Orville at all?
I need to.
Oh my gosh. So Isaac the robot and the doctor, kind of like, not necessarily a thing, but at one point he purges his memory because he's just supposed to do that as a robot or whatever. And he realizes that like a lot of the things that he was doing as daily tasks revolved around her.
Aww.
And that's super cute, right?
Aww.
But, you know, it's those absent moments where you go, oh, I didn't realize that he was filling my glass of water before I sat down every single time. And he never said anything. Now I have to go up and fill my own dang water. Or, you know, I really just miss their presence. Just having them around, having them on the phone is really great. Absence is a great thing for any relationship.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think that covers a lot of what I wanted to talk about.
Cool.
Like, that was really good. And I learned, like, some new things. So
cool.
I like it.
Always. I think it's always good to, regardless of what your relationship status is, if you're married or if you are continuing to seek relationships or maybe you're happy being single, but always knowing how to better communicate with others, always trying to up your relationship game is always a useful thing. Yes. So never feel like you should just, oh, I'm in a relationship or I'm happy where I'm at and just stop. You should always be trying to better yourself for yourself.
That whole like pushing towards each other as well as taking care of yourself is all very important things.
Totally.
Don't ruin yourself. Like, don't waste away yourself for someone who's not returning.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
okay. So that's our relationship advice. If you guys have anything else, where can they share their thoughts? Yeah,
if you guys have any relationship advice, I'll say motivation. I don't know. I'll do a Monday thing with relationships, and you guys can come and chat about it there. Also, like, I don't know if you have any questions on it. Ask your friends, talk to each other, communicate. Romantic Monday. Yes, everyone hates Mondays. Let's give it some love. I'll do a follow-up Monday thing on the Facebook group. If you guys want to like chat more about it there, that's totally fine. Or if you want to make your own post on it, as long as it stays civil, like I'm okay with that, and the group's really good about that. So,
all right. Horror stories.
Okay, so I wanna start.
Okay.
With what I was gonna reference earlier, and then decided to save it. So the first convention that I went to, Anime Bonsai, I needed a ride to it, and I just like got into this whole cosplay thing. Like, my first time cosplaying was at Video Games Live.
Okay.
This is my first time going to a convention.
I remember this story. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I had put together this Link cosplay. Even did a thing where I was like binding, so I'd be like more dude-like, and put on a wig and just like was like, yeah, I'm gonna go and be a dude today. And I had just started dating Chris around that time.
Okay.
And I asked him for a ride to the convention. I remember sitting in the car and just regretting my life choices.
Oh.
I was just like, why did I ask this guy that I kind of like right now to take me to this convention? This is weird. Like, and I'm dressed as a dude. Like, what if he finds that weird? Yeah. Luckily, he didn't think about it, like, at all. But, like, I just remember just feeling super embarrassed the whole car ride over. And he's like, so you like video games? I'm like, yeah, I love video games. And just, like, us chatting awkwardly the whole time over. And I'm just like, oh, this is weird.
Cute, awkward babies.
So awkward. But he thought it was cool that I wanted to be making props and stuff like that. Yeah. And that's actually what started blossoming our relationship later, was that I was like, I'm trying to make this wooden sword thing. And he goes, my dad has a wood shop. Let's go do stuff with him. And it ended up being, a good thing. So
awesome.
But it was super awkward, that first thing, where I was like, maybe I should ask somebody else to take me to the convention.
But now you love each other.
Yeah, we love each other.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I don't have any stories, but we did get a submission. Hey, Pan and VFire and David. Thank you. Oh, you're so kind. I totally didn't add that in for myself. First off, I want to say thank you for an amazing podcast. I look forward to every episode. So I finally have a cosplay horror story for you guys that I think you'll find both hilarious and horrifying.
I love this one.
I'm nervous. I haven't read this yet. So this weekend we went to Phoenix Fan Fusion. I love that one. I went there a couple years ago. That's a great con.
Oh, cool. I heard good things about it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, other than it's miserably hot in Phoenix, but, you know. Had an absolute blast as usual, but this year we had so much go wrong. Let's start off with the small items. We forgot so many things. Or we thought we did. Uh-oh. I bought boot bands to make my boots fit better. Emailed the seller to see if they could get to me in time for con. They made it happen. Amazing customer service. And then I went to put them on in the hotel and thought I left the zippers for one of them at home, so couldn't use them. Then while unpacking after con, I discovered that I did in fact pack them. Facepalm.
That's the worst, like figuring that out after the convention and you're just like,
that's the worst.
No.
Oh. We bought rubbing alcohol for my Chromo Cake body paint for Princess Fiona. Makes it stick better and last longer, but I realized I forgot to pack it, so had to use water. Forgot my button-up shirt and black pants for Harry Potter outfit for a Happy Potter prom we were going to, so I had to buy a new Harry Potter outfit at con. Ooh, that's gonna be expensive.
Yeah, I've done stuff like that.
Then, last-minute costume finishes at the hotel. Friday night, I was ironing on my husband's Red Lantern logo from the DC vs. Marvel party we were going to. You guys are going to all the events. My gosh.
This is awesome.
And forgot to take the backing off. And pretty much ironed it to itself, ruining the logo, so he just was stuck with a plain red shirt for his costume.
Aww.
Finally, to top it all off, Saturday, and my Princess Fiona dress photos will be on the website. Let me start off this part of the horror story with a little layout of the convention center, that in order to get to the vendor hall from the main entrance, you have to go down 2 escalators. We were at the con for maybe an hour and a half, and I experienced the fear that every child has growing up. Being eaten alive by an escalator. I'm so sorry, I don't mean to laugh at your fear.
Oh no! It's a totally legitimate fear.
It's totally legitimate. We were going down the first escalator, and my dress got slightly tugged on, but I thought it was just against the brushes on the side of the escalator, so I didn't think anything of it. Oh no. We then went on to the second escalator, and was just getting off when the back of my dress caught in the comb plate. I was down at the bottom trying to get my dress loose, all while people were still getting on and off the escalator. I literally felt like I was fighting for my life. I finally got it free, but not without a beautiful 2 to 3 inch tear at the bottom of my dress, 2 inches away from the seam. Oh. I was exhausted from lack of sleep and the idea that this actually happened. All I could do was laugh at it. I think my husband thought I had finally gone mad. All I can say is thank God it happened in the back of the dress and did not tear at the seam, or else it would have been toast. No one noticed unless I pointed it out. The remainder of the day, I grabbed the bottom of my dress, hugged it close, and yelled, "Don't eat me!" at the escalator. Despite it getting torn, it was still a huge hit, and I cannot wait to do it again, except maybe minus the fighting for my life. Thank you for all your hard work. You guys are amazing. Emily from Coop's Cosplay. Thanks so much, Emily. That was a wild ride.
I just love the person, like, and I was just fighting for my life. Like, just imagine her standing there trying to pull her dress out of the escalator. It's just like, no!
I imagine the people, like, awkwardly trying to climb around her, trying to make sure that they don't step on her dress, but at the same time making sure they give her the space she needs.
Right. I don't know if you saw her picture of her Fiona cosplay in the group. She shared it in the Facebook group. It is amazing.
Oh, I'll have to take a look at it.
Yeah, I'll make sure I'll show you.
Yeah. But thanks again. If you want to submit your cosplay horror stories, or not just horror stories, but happy stories, or happy-go-lucky fun times. Maybe you met your romantic partner in cosplay.
We've shared stories like that before, yeah.
And we love hearing about it. Where can they send those to us?
You can send them to CosplayStitchAndSeam at gmail.com, or go to the website
CosplayStitchAndSeam.com and fill in the little doobly-doo there.
Doobly-doo on the contact page. So, and then of course you can help promote us by word of mouth and the reviews that David so kindly mentioned at the beginning, and as well as at our Ko-Fi at Cosplay Stitch. We also have our Uncon giveaway. Winners of the final round.
Final round.
Do. All right, the winners are Debbie Webster,
Woo!
Seth McKinsey,
Woo!
Kimi Ushio,
Woo!
Sherry Allen,
Oh!
and Candace Chesley.
Woo! Congratulations!
So, contact me or the Facebook page, or not the page, the group, or no, the page, yes, the page.
Okay.
Yes. Contact via Messenger, and or you can email if you don't use well, you obviously use the Facebook thing. You guys all commented and that's how you won. But yes, contact me and I'll get you your codes. So then I'll see you guys at Ogden Uncon on Sunday. And hopefully you guys can enjoy the rest of the weekend because I can only go the one day.
Woo woo!
Yeah, so big thanks to Macy Roberts for our music. And thank you, David.
For editing and the fantastic making us all sound good, including myself, because heaven knows I need all the help I can get. But you can also catch some of my other stuff, Dungeons and Chill. We're on a brief hiatus. I'm working on some really great stuff I mentioned a couple episodes ago, but working on it, and I'll post updates on my Twitter there, at Dungeons and Chill, the letter N. Or if you don't like D&D and you want to do more comic books, I do another podcast called Comic Trades Monthly. This month we're talking about the Umbrella Academy. What does it mean? How does it affect our everyday lives? And what do the characters really embody in ourselves? That's the stuff that we talk about there. So if you feel like you want to check those out, it's really appreciated. I love it when more people come to sit at the table and join either my D&D group and my comic book club. So feel free to check those out.
I need to try the comic book sometime.
I love them. I have a problem. When we're done here, I'll show you my collection.
Awesome.
It's bad. It's really bad.
All right. Outgoing pun. Do you like carrots?
Do I like carrots? Sure, I like carrots.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't like carrots. I don't carrot all for them.
Ah!
There we go. That's the one that came up at work. It's so bad it's not a relationship-based one. I'm sorry, guys.
We miss you, Pannon. We can't wait to see you.
Pannon, help me!
Night, guys.